Hello, dear all. Good evening. Let us talk today about officer-like qualities, and we'll learn about officer-like qualities and the factors which are to be considered as qualities for an officer or a leader. These are clubbed under four factors. Factor one, that is planning and organizing. Factor two, social adjustment. Factor three is social effectiveness, and factor four is dynamic. Let us discuss all factors one by one. First is factor one, planning and organizing. Here we talk about planning and organizing abilities of a leader, and subsequently we learn how we look at these traits and what all traits are there within this factor one. Gentlemen, let's talk about factor planning and organizing. It has four components: effective intelligence, reasoning ability, organizing ability, and power of expression. Now we deal with effective intelligence. Effective intelligence, gentlemen, is the practical ability to use your knowledge, skills, and memory to solve real world problems and achieve success. This is not just about a high traditional IQ, it is about taking the right action at right time. Gentlemen, effective intelligence has got three main parts. One, information, the facts and the experiences you keep in your brain. Second is speed. Speed is how fast you can recall what you know. Finally, application, how well you use your knowledge to improve the difficult situation. Now, next thing is why it matters. While raw knowledge is great, effective intelligence is what translates the knowledge into results. It helps you make better everyday decisions, adapt to new or unexpected challenges, turn ideas into real success. So, methods how to build effective intelligence. There are ways. First thing is stay calm. If a problem happens, pause to think instead of panicking. Second is practice reflection. Think about past mistakes and what you can do better next time. Third is listen actively. Pay close attention to others to understand their needs before making a choice. Gentlemen, having understood effective intelligence and its requirement, let's move on to the reasoning ability. Reasoning ability is the cognitive capacity to analyze information, identify patterns, and draw logical conclusions to solve problems. It serves as the bridge between raw data and meaningful decisions, relying on structured thinking rather than intuitions. So, why do we develop this reasoning ability? Developing this skill helps with aptitude tests, competitive exams, and everyday decision making. It is generally categorized into following core types. What are the core types? Gentlemen, first core type is deductive reasoning, moving from general principles or rules to a specific certain conclusion. Inductive reasoning is observing specific instances or patterns and generalizing them into broader rule or theory. Now talking about third, that is verbal reasoning, understanding and solving problems expressed through words such as reading, comprehension, syllogisms, and analogies. After verbal, then there is non-verbal or spatial reasoning, analyzing visual information such as interpreting geometric patterns, paper folding, and mirroring. Finally, gentlemen, critical thinking, objectively evaluating arguments and recognizing logical flaws to make informed judgment. So now question comes, how to improve your reasoning skills. Gentlemen, reasoning is not entirely innate. It is a mental muscle that can be strengthened through regular exercise. First thing, practical puzzles. Regularly solving puzzles like Sudoku, crosswords, special riddles forces your brain to recognize patterns. Second is review aptitude tests. To prepare for job assessments or competitive exams, you can review structured tutorials also and some mock questions. And third is ask why. Continuously questioning how conclusions are reached that will improve your reasoning ability. Coming on to the next factor, gentlemen, that is organizing ability. Organizing ability is your capacity to systematically arrange, manage, and coordinate time, energy, and resources to achieve goals effectively. Gentlemen, it combines time management, strategic planning, and self motivation to boost productivity and reduce stress in both professional and personal settling. The key components of organization, gentlemen, are time management, prioritization, resource allocation, and communication. Let us briefly talk about each one of them, gentlemen. Time management is balancing workloads, meeting deadlines, and breaking down projects into manageable milestones. Second component, gentlemen, is prioritization. Identify high impact tasks and delegating or deprioritizing less urgent ones. Fourth is resource allocation, effectively managing energy, finances, and personnel to execute a plan. Fourth is communication, clearly sharing expectations and project status with stakeholders. So if that be the requirement of organizing ability, gentlemen, what are the strategies for improvement of organizing ability? So first strategy, gentlemen, is digital planning. Utilize tools like Notion to track workflows and create dedicated folders for your projects. Second is prioritization matrices. Use the Eisenhower matrix, urgent versus important, to determine what to tackle first. Third is goal setting. Goal setting, gentlemen, break larger objectives down into smaller, actionable steps to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Finally, we talk about power of expression. Power of expression is the ability to articulate your thoughts, emotions, and ideas. So, it merges verbal and non-verbal communications to persuade, connect, and drive change. Gentlemen, this skill is pivotal in building relationships, shaping societal narratives, and discovering one's authentic self. So now, in percentage form, we talk about the power of expression elements. What are the elements of power of expression? Gentlemen, words. It counts only 7%. Your vocabulary and sentence structure. It is not about complex language, but rather choosing precise, relatable words. Then is tone. Tone is 38%. The sound of your voice, including pitch, pace, and volume, which convey the actual emotion behind your statement. Finally, non-verbal cues. It is 55%. Body language, facial expression, eye contact, and gestures that either amplify or undermine your verbal message. So, how important is this non-verbal communication, gentlemen? You can understand. And the words you use and speak in your power of expression is just 7% of total 100%. So 38% is your tone, the way you speak, the tone you use. Gentlemen, factor two is social adjustment. Let's talk about social adjustment. Social adjustment is a dynamic psychological process where an individual learns to cope with and adapt to the norms, values, and expectations of their surrounding society or community. Gentlemen is relies on emotional regulation, empathy, and effective communication to build satisfying interpersonal relationship and successfully function in a various roles. Let us talk about what are the key components of social adjustment. Gentlemen, social adjustment, first component is social competence. Social competence talks about, gentlemen, the practical ability to set and achieve desired social and personal goals while maintaining positive relationships. Second is self-regulation. Self-regulation, gentlemen, is managing your own emotional impulses and behaviors to align with community or group standards. Third comes, gentlemen, social awareness, understanding non-verbal cues, empathetic listening, and the perspectives of others. Finally, gentlemen, the flexibility. Flexibility is mental agility to readjust your approach when moving into new environments like starting a new school, job, or moving to a new city. There are common challenges, gentlemen, like first challenge is isolation and loneliness, while feeling of not being understood, disconnected, or rejected by the surrounding community. Second is maladjustment, adopting unhealthy or aggressive coping mechanisms in response to new social demands or value system. Finally, stress and anxiety also as a factor in the judgment, difficulty in interpersonal relationships or professional oblique academic roles that impact overall mental and psychological well-being. With these challenges, gentlemen, it's very important that social adjustment are learned well, and what is the improving method for social adjustment. Building better social adjustment skills takes practice and inter intention focus. Some of the most effective strategies include first is, gentlemen, effective listening. Focus on truly understanding others during conversations rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. Second is setting boundaries. Healthy relationship requires mutual respect. Being clear about your own limits reduces resentments and burnout. The third aspect, gentlemen, is seeking safe spaces. Join clubs, organizations, or support groups centered around your hobbies to practice socializing in low pressure, welcoming environment. There may be a case and point, gentlemen, wherein one needs professional support due to certain deformities or problems. In that case, if social difficulties stem from deep-seated anxiety, past trauma, or neurodivergence, speaking with licensed therapist can provide actionable, personalized coping frameworks. Another important factor, gentlemen, is factor 3, that is social effectiveness. We'll talk about social effectiveness. Social effectiveness is your ability to interact well with others, build strong relationships, and handle everyday social situations with ease. It is a set of skills that helps you to get along with people to solve problems and communicate clearly. Gentlemen, anyone can improve his social effectiveness by practicing the following. One is active listening. Pay close attention when others speak. Do not just wait for your turn to talk. Show your care by looking at the person and asking open-ended questions. Second trick, gentlemen, is empathy. Try to understand how other people feel when you see things from their point of view. It is easier to show kindness and build trust. Third, gentlemen, non-verbal communication. It is your body language speaks before you do. Make eye contact, smile, and keep your body open and relaxed. This makes you seem friendly and approachable. Fourth important thing, gentlemen, is conflict resolution. That is, disagreements happen, but effective people handle them calmly. Listen to the other side, stay respectful, and look for a solution where everyone wins. Final and fifth, gentlemen, is clear speaking. Say exactly what you mean in polite and clear way. Avoid gossiping and always treat others with respect. So these are the some ways of improving your effective social effectiveness, and must practice them, and definitely there will be a sea change in your social effectiveness. Summarizing the factor social effectiveness, gentlemen, it is about self-confidence, speed of decision making, ability to influence the group, and liveliness in your dealing, and the pleasing personality which you carry, which you possess, that makes a lot of effect in terms of it is your tone, texture, words, or verbal communication or non-verbal communication. Social effectiveness, gentlemen, talks about initiative. What is initiative? Is the ability to originate an action and sustain it. Second is, it has four aspects. Ability to take the first step in a new or subsequently emerging situation in the right direction and sustain it till goal is achieved. So these are the steps for the initiative. Last and the fourth factor is, gentlemen, the dynamic in officer-like qualities. Dynamism, as the word suggests, that it relates to action and activities, stamina, endurance. This is what we'll talk about. The factor 4, dynamic for a leader. Factor dynamic is, gentlemen, about determination, courage, stamina. As we earlier talked about, traits that involve energy, movement, and constant change. Well, gentlemen, you are discussing determination, which is one of the most important factors for a leader. And amongst the officer-like qualities and the traits, determination is a sustained effort to achieve objective in spite of obstacles and setbacks. It implies fixedness of purpose, mental concentration, and strength of will. Then it talks about application to work, the capacity of physical and mental application to work. Finally, the drive, the inner motive power at the disposal of an individual. It is the capacity to force oneself along one under pressure and urgency towards the achievement of a common goal. Gentlemen, while discussing the officer-like qualities, we have discussed all four factors, but factor 4, dynamism, we are discussing in more detail because it has lot of activities, energies involved, and these traits are must, uh, though all qualities, officer-like qualities are must for a leader, but this involves your courage, determination, stamina, and then we are discussing this. What is courage? Courage is the ability to appreciate and take pervasive risk willingly. This is called taking calculated risk. It includes ability to meet appreciated danger, spirit of adventure, and enterprising spirit, and a willingness or desire to dare or risk a hazard. Then is capacity to keep oneself composed in an adverse situation, enabling one to be steady in facing and handling such situation so that you can take decisions, quick decisions and correct decisions. At the end, gentlemen, whatever we have talked about officer-like qualities, we can summarize that in this graphical form or pictorial form or in a chart, whatever you understand. These four factors: factor planning and organizing, factor social adjustment, factor social effectiveness, and factor dynamic. Under each head, whichever qualities you have discussed so far have been given for your understanding, and you understand them and then apply them in your life. Be practical human being, and that helps you to develop your personality. And I'm sure this much about your personality development is going to assist you in developing your personality, having a all-rounded personality and balanced personality. And keep watching my videos on SSB preparation and personality development. I'm sure you are going to be benefited by this presentation come videos. Thanks for watching Karam SSB, and stay tuned. We'll upload more and more videos for your benefit and my satisfaction. Thank you very much.